long that I've got. So I just wanted to touch bases. So I am inundated by so many different methods because, as you know, every year I began getting new insights, and this carries on all the way to like at least by the end of November. It starts mid August, so August 15th, and then it just so right now I'm receiving different methods that of course I will utilize in 2026. It always carries over into the new year. Well, um, um, what it's come up with, I guess the working name is oracle readings. Oracle readings for me is, of course, oh, and the other thing is, I have just, I've always could read without tools, but I'm actually reading without tools, literally. But I love my tools, and they're not going anywhere. I'm perfecting in my tools. I'm reading and can read very efficiently without tools, which, by the way, it allows me to use like layman language and I can speak casually with people or clients. So I think that my clients, I think, work with me better when I don't use tools. I like to use tools, but I also tend to go in teacher mode. I'm like, this symbol means this and that. And so, but I use very little symbolism. I keep it very down to earth. So I like the idea of also not reading without using the tools. So, but I do still utilize the tools for educational purposes. Of course, I've learned even a broader method, a new method, um, which that is kind of what I wanted to sort of start mapping out. So I wanted to explain a little bit like how it works. So obviously, like I will um, okay, so there's a different also sort of like controls of how to start out. Like, well, okay, so if you have random probability, let's say your first card is, what does that even mean for you to have the Hermit? So, and then followed by other higher arcana. But we want to generically say, because yeah, that's a little bit more advanced. So let's say if I get this card, which is the Seven of Wands, and then let's say, so Seven of Wands for me, seven is assigned to the Chariot. So it's the Chariot, of course, through the personality of the Wands, and that's how I would illustrate what that means. And then, of course, I would pull another one, and then I stop when, like with this card being the Queen of Swords, which means clearly this involves a woman. So I've also, in this manner, when it's an oracle reading, this something I just learned, and I'm I also like it to make sense logically. So there are obviously the king and the knight, and then the knaves, which can mean like a young person, but it can also mean woman or young woman. So young woman, the queen of, or the, more mature women. So kind of like the king, the queen, the knights, or the young men, the young women, however that flows. But I understand it because I understand the layers, of, yes, it also can mean a child incoming, people having children. But anyway, so let's get back to, okay, so this is my limit, right? When I receive a person. So I would have the seven, which I can think of as the chariot, the five, which I could think of as the hierophant. Of course, we're talking about wands and swords, but that can also combine the two, which would give me 12. Which 12 is the hangman. So this means that it can symbolize that this person is going to undergo a series of like a trial before ultimately making a decision. So I would need to know what this person, well, I, because I like to make predictions. So anyways, I'm just giving you an overview of what I've learned, because I advance in what I've learned every year, and this is oracle readings, as it's described to me through the work with the spirits, and it involves the numbers, like numerical value, and so forth. Um, and I would could just go and build from there. So all this would require me to do is to understand what the hangman, which is associated with Neptune, when what does this mean for in as it represents for this, I would say, a woman, a woman. Also, I can. Oh, okay. So, like, we can follow the patterns of numbers. You can also follow the patterns of alphabet. I'm still studying that one, but I was playing with it, and I mean, it's crazy, like how it aligns. Like, I can get the let's say the initials of a person, who's going to come into an event, um, and also get very specific information or insight about about a person, about a specific person, following the letters, because letters also function like numerology. In fact, like okay, like the Hebrew letters have numerical value. So it's just a weird way of tweaking the mind to see letters as numbers. So it's the same concept, but for some reason, because numbers seem more uh, linear, I guess it's easier to believe in numbers or to believe in the science of numbers than, I guess, the sort of like the philosophy of letters. Having the ability to have, value, some sort of numerical value. Also, like, if let's say, okay, let's create another fake reading. So another fake reading would be, let's say I get this first. This is considered, okay, on the kind of like the timeline, it goes left or right. So this is kind of like my way of saying left or right. So we can go from here, and let's say vibrationally, this plays out as in, and of course, I'm looking at the Hierophant, I'm looking at the Strength. So, and then of course, together, 13 represents, oh, death. Okay, and judgment. So that means something impacting bad, and something in a bad way. Maybe is not going to, whatever the surrounding, what the questions, whatever this is question is surrounding, isn't favorable at whatsoever. It can mean of course, an ending, a transition that is, can be quite severe, to be honest, and life changing. Okay, but then of course this would be the card that these two add up to be. Okay, so perhaps even potential in the matters of a love and the wisdom. So this is maybe somebody already knows it's going in this direction. It's just a matter of admitting it to oneself, maybe. But anyway, let's pretend like these numbers doesn't speak to this. This represents the limit to how far out it goes. But yeah, that's the thing. I can't really fake a reading. I'm trying to create scenarios, but they end up being real. So this is actually a very real scenario, by the way. But anyway, I wasn't gonna stay for long. I just wanted to kind of just come in and just let you know what I've learned, and I'm just getting better at it. And I haven't come in here for a long time because I'm trying to figure out where to put all this new information. But I will come back regularly. I still need about, I think I'm, at some point, I think it's Monday. Monday, I get back to routine. I'm still taking calls, and all that. still professional, big psychic. This is my little workspace, and I'm going to get off of this. And I needed to chart out. I need to create a chart. Yeah. Okay. So I have the cards committed to memory and the numbers, blah blah blah. But I'm still working on the letters. So I said to be, and I okay. Letters can apply to any alphabet in the world, but of course, I'm going to naturally choose the Abrahamic, the Hebrew letters, because the cards do correspond naturally with the Hebrew letters because that's the system, or Greek letters. But I'm going to start with the Hebrew letters. So I need to commit to that. And the only thing I think I can imagine is just writing this out. Oh, by the way, somebody had reached out to me and told uh, they had dreamt of numbers, and this is something interesting. I think you all would like. So, can you see these numbers? Well, it's a 7, 3, 0, 9, and 2. So, in general, the 9 and 2 is 11, and then the 7 and the 3, right, are 10. Of course, 0, they say, is 0 is 0. But, however, in certain mathematics, 0 represents an identity. So, and how we got that is so there's this amazing thing where if you take the year that you're born, right, and you take the age that you are, you get what you get is you'll get a one, and then you'll get the year that you're in. So if you were to do it this year, whatever age that you would be for this year, you should get the year 125. One just represents the fact that you're an adult. Like, as I say, if you were just born, let's say you have a newborn and you did the math, like, okay, this is how old the baby is, right? And you wouldn't get the 125. You would just get like kind of like a just 25 or 0 25s, representing that zero is an identity. Because like just because a baby isn't one yet, in its beautiful mathematics, metaphysically, it says that regardless, a person who was born, that person is still a person. It has an identity and it's part of humanity because that mathematics shows how we're all connected. Because anyone who takes their age, the age that they would be for that year that they're in, and then you add it to the year, not the you drop the century part, the 19 or the 20, you drop that one, and you just add like 87 and your age, and then you get 125. Of course, you have to also remember if you get 126, that means you're adding the age you'll be next year. Okay. Or if your birthday has already passed, it may fall into the or if you let me see, if you haven't had your birthday yet, it's the you would take the age you would be in that year, and you will get exactly the 20 well 125 if you're an adult, or and then just 25. This year is almost done, so I feel like you may find it more easier to understand if you set it for next year, which would give you 126. Yeah, so every year, it just like the year advances, so will the uh I guess the year when anyone adds these numbers together. Okay, so all I'm saying is that 0 is an identity, so it's acknowledged as a 1. So this end up being 1111 or 22, which so if you want to translate it into esoteric, this number, so it's it's obviously a 10 and a uh, like a 21, right, naturally, but you add the 0 as a 1. Also, this is in matrices as well, where like you have, the postal, the original postal system where they got like matrix, how to like for computing, they had like 0 0 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 1 1 0 0 1 1 1, and it keeps going and going and going, right? So these zeros get can have value. So that's why you give it a one and you add it to 7 and 3 and you get the 1111 or the 22, which is the world card basically, and transcendence. Well, it was even more fascinating. I didn't write down the other number, but the other number that they gave also added to 11. So it was like 11, 11, 11, 33 paths. It was like client, I know my client wouldn't make this up, like wouldn't thought there was no the client was just asking me, I had this dream, what do these numbers mean? That's all it was. It wasn't to try to fit numbers into, because there was no conversation about, oh, the 33 paths or 1111 or the number 22. It just, unless my client was not intending to bring up anything related. Just said, I just want to know what these numbers meant because they showed up in my dream, but I wrote them down. And yeah, the first set of numbers added up to 11, and then these are the numbers that added to 11, 11, and it was just so wild. So I thought I would also share that. It would happen to be sitting there, like, I think something this would be interesting to you as well. But anyways, um, I'm having to work from the inside to perfect so that I can deliver, to my channel. I'm intending to, I want to have membership videos on these subjects and, of course, offer the services that I offer to anybody else into my channel. Oh, by the way, I like my internal stuff, life update. I have a working phone number. So even if you're abroad, I have a number for you. And so that means if you're from the UK, yes, you'll be able to call me. By the way, toll free. Yep, you better get a actual phone number. But also you can just I could just send you a link and you could, you can keep it just like link to video. You can say no video, just voice, and it works the same. But if we're just taking like, what, but a phone number is more professional. So yeah, I also have a phone number and for the US as well. So I have two working numbers, one for abroad that you can reach me at, and in the future. That's for memberships only. That I don't. There's no reason for you to reach out for any other reason. So that's going to be introduced to a very specific membership, and so that means people who sign for a membership tier for readings, you will actually have a phone number, even a U.S. phone number, they'd be just like calling anybody landline. Just you just be able to get a hold of me, and you could just say, okay, so I can bypass clicking links and yep, and just call you. Yeah. So and communicate maybe through whatever, through the hopefully I think memberships offer messaging, so we can keep that communication channel open. So I'm doing little things like that. I'm rearranging some things, and that's why I haven't been going live as frequently. So I just wanted to kind of like come in and say, look, I am doing something. So, and I haven't gotten up, and you guys haven't run me off, and I will be back shortly. And with that, I'm going to close out.